Child removal stories in the Romani community are pretty common, unfortunately, anywhere you go in the world. The overrepresentation of Gypsy, Romani and Traveller children in child welfare services is a phenomenon experienced in many of the countries where Roma reside. The number of child removals in Romani communities has been on the rise. Now, this reality may change because of a research that was run by Dr. Dan Allen at Liverpool Hope University. There are social workers, practitioners, childcare protection professionals that have been using this research, as well as lawyers and charity workers. So come and check out the interviews with me. Let's watch it together. We're at the KaskoSan Roma Club here in Bolton, and today we can welcome Dr. Dan Allen in our company. I need your help today because Dan forgot the Gypsy dance steps he learned 7 years ago, right? So we're going to have to teach him them again, and also some new steps.
I've been involved in research with Gypsy Roma tribal communities for the last 20 years, looking at the fragility of professional competence. That was published by the European Roma Rights Centre in 2018. The most recent research is looking at the representation of Gypsy Roma Traveller children within child welfare systems in England. I've conducted that research with a dissertation student, now social work practitioner, Victoria Hammonet.
Hi, I'm Jackie Bolton. My ancestors are Romanis and circus people. Although I've worked with children and families for about 20 years, I wasn't a social worker in the beginning. I changed career path. I was a family worker and an advocate for travellers in the east of England, and then decided I would qualify as a social worker after I saw social workers' practice was not as good as I would have liked. They were overrepresented in prisons, youth offending, we don't live as long as anyone else, our homes are not placed in such nice places as others. So it's not surprising that we're overrepresented in child protection proceedings because of basically, I think it's structural racism. I've been involved with working with multi-agency groups for over 20 years now, and the opinions and practices are often formed by what professionals read in media, what they see on the telly. Programmes like Big Fat Gypsy Wedding, they think we're all like that, and they make assumptions about risk and assessments and judgments not based on the facts in front of people, but on mindsets based on prejudice and stereotypes. It's a very complicated picture, and more research needs to be done about it. But we need to take action now, and I think when we come onto it, that's why the research is so important.
So the research shows that often social work practitioners, without any form of guidance on how best to respond, often come from a position of fear and prejudice themselves. We want to get to a position where decisions are being made that represent the best interests of the child and the family, rather than decisions being made based upon fear. Here we need to acknowledge that social work practice with Roma communities is challenging, but equally there's lots more needs to be done in order to build capacity, to build competence and build confidence within the workforce. Therefore, when social work practitioners do become involved in the lives of Roma children and families, their response is proportionate to assessed risk and assessed need, rather than assumed risk and assumed need.
I've been predominantly working with GRT communities, I'd say since 2018. My focus at the moment is working predominantly with Irish traveller families and helping parents negotiate child welfare services. So Dan's research has been sort of really integral to me over the last 5 years. The first case that I worked on, I understood as a professional that I didn't have the toolkit to work with this community. Like a bolt from the blue, I was sent Dan's research paper and I shared it with all the professionals on the case, and I specifically sent it to the social work team. And I said, if you're going to work with this family, you need to read this document. It was exactly what I was seeing on the case, the mistakes that were being made, both by myself and by social workers. Once I'd managed to negotiate that relationship between social workers and the family, change was instantaneous in the working relationship, and we prevented a child from being adopted. It is essential that social workers and community members kind of get to know each other, and if you're going to trust each other, then you need to understand one another, and I think that's why the research is so brilliant.
The main problem is that there are more Gypsy Roma Traveller families included in social work practice than any other ethnic group, so that's a real problem.
The association is a multi-professional membership-led organisation that represents social workers, health workers, police, legal services. A whole range of different professionals are involved in child protection and child safeguarding. Dan's work's been absolutely groundbreaking in providing evidence to support anecdotally what we felt and knew as practitioners. The research is really important, its findings are really interesting and powerful. It's about a combination of discrimination, cultural assumptions and racism. So I think that leads to an overrepresentation within the systems. The research is helpful in itself in establishing the reality of discrimination against these groups, but it also provides a good discussion point for professionals to work through, to think through the implications of that, and to work their way through how this can be addressed, so that the end result is a service provided to Gypsy Roma Traveller groups and Eastern Roma groups that is appropriate to their needs and reflects their culture and perspectives. I think it's a groundbreaking starter for research and its impact on practice. I think there's plenty of potential here to do further research particularly around what works with Gypsy Roma Traveller group. We're sort of developing a co-produced approach to children's safeguarding within that context. That we feel generally is the best way to go forward in working with all communities, to make sure that communities are involved in constructing services, to make sure that we are meeting their needs.
Lots of research and lots of practice has talked about social work with Gypsy, Roma and Traveller communities. The practice often includes Gypsy, Roma, Traveller people as one. It doesn't recognise the important differences between communities. Communities who are united maybe more by discrimination than cultural affinity. So the research shows that different practices are needed with different groups. Roma communities throughout the world experience ongoing oppression and discrimination, state violence. So it's really important that social work practice is working from a position of equality. Often Roma communities in the UK and elsewhere throughout the world feel very isolated and alienated and marginalised by state systems, including social work practice. So it's really important that social work thinks about how it's engaging Roma communities specifically and develops strategies and education and programmes of community outreach so that we can build bridges and help Roma communities overcome alienation, overcome marginalisation and overcome prejudice.
In the UK, many refer to East European Gypsies as Roma and to British Gypsies as Romani Gypsies. Roma roots and Romani Gypsy roots are the same. We both come from India and we both share a strong Greek heritage too. However, we have been living separately for many centuries. In the meantime, our dialects have changed, but our way of life and our identities have also changed. That is one reason why Gypsies, Roma and Travellers have different kinds of problems. The research is huge benefit to our Roma, Gypsy and Traveller families. Dr. Allen, thank you.